So, what about highlights of the year? Over to you, Ross.
Well, I think there's no doubt in anyone's mind, especially not my own, I have to say, combined, both my highlight of the year, my favourite game of the year, and quite possibly my favourite game of all time, Skyrim.
No surprise there.
No surprises whatsoever. Yes, I've played it now for nearly 200 hours. Nearly.
That's a long
Yep.
time.
It's a lot of Skyrim, and despite this, I still have like this feeling of like I still feel like I haven't really done much. Like the game is so expansive and epic. Like I think I've more or less finished all of the main storylines and most of the minor ones as well, and I still have this feeling like there's just so much to do because there is. It's such a vibrant, living, creative, beautiful game that I just cannot get enough of it. It has ruled my life since its release. Honestly, 11th of November it was released. I'm still playing it non-stop. Every spare second is spent on this game for good reason. Because it's of course it's not flawless.
Oh, naturally. I've seen the bugs online.
Yes.
Funny stuff on there.
What my favourite bug thus far? I came out of a dungeon. I think it was a cave. I came out of said cave, and out of nowhere, a horse entered reality.
What?
No. It gets better.
Oh god.
This horse was also flying through the air, arcing across the landscape. It was a marvellous sight. It lands in a nearby river. It gets better.
Oh,
this
no.
horse was also dead.
What?
This dead horse shot across the screen for no reason. None. Like, there were no bandits around. Like,
Oh my god.
I hardly see anyone riding a horse. So it's a rarity to see a horse in general, let alone see a horse. Like, I don't know. Did some giant to take a disliking to it backhand? I don't know. I didn't see any giant.
Probably.
But yes, there are lots of little joys like that in Skyrim.
Yeah, in fact, I've seen, as online, as mentioned on lots of news sites, there was actually a patch release which didn't really fix anything. Yeah, and in fact, I think the patch added something like backwards flying dragons.
I've seen backwards flying dragons.
Oh,
I've seen
awesome.
them. Ah, yes.
Oh, I gotta see that.
It's funny. It's like, right, a dragon. Yeah, come here, you bastard. Right, I get my fireballs, like shoot it, and then it flies backwards. Like, what are you doing? What are you going over there for? Right, it's coming back. Yeah, I shoot it, and it flies back.
This game's worth it for just the bugs by the sound.
Just for the bugs. It's like this beautiful, serene world, and all of a sudden someone falls through the floor. It's awesome.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, like, most games when they're bugged, it's terrible and frustrates you, but with Skyrim, it's just funny.
It's a laugh. It's a laugh riot, not a laugh riot, but a laugh riot.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to them, you know. I mean, most open world games with such a vast urban environment, you know, they're really buggy as hell and
Especially considering
very playable.
It's so immersive as well. Like, it's so immersive. Like, you're really getting into it. Yes, I am the Duvahkin. I am the master of the shout and the words of power. And then something happens. Like it's so, like slaps you in the face with like someone like walking backwards or like into a wall or something. It's beautiful. Yes.
Bugs are great.
Bugs are awesome. They're lots of fun. I can see why people hunt for these things.
Yeah.
Because they can be so funny. But enough of that tangent. Yes, I was talking about the immersion because it's like I don't have a very modern, shall we say, television. Even so, I can still tell like the beautiful rendering and textures that are in this game.
It's very pretty.
It's very pretty. It feels real. I like the soundtrack as well. Heartbreakingly beautiful. At the same time, also like heart-poundingly epic. Like some of the fights, like I remember in Oblivion, the previous Elder Scrolls game, like I got tired of the music fairly quickly. But this time, like I got that feeling of awe I got when I first played Oblivion, where like you step outside the first dungeon and you just go into this world and it's amazing. Like I couldn't help but just stand there and look around and go, wow, this is cool. Like it's almost it makes you it feels a shame to like fast travel, like to like teleport from place to place because you miss so much. I mean, I think that's a very good reason why. Because again, in Oblivion, to refer back to that one, the towns, the major cities were already located. You could automatically fast travel to where in this game, you had to travel. You had to go there, which I think it's a much smarter decision because it means you have to go out and adventure and appreciate the world and for what it is. It's brilliant.
That's pretty good.
I mean, like it makes sense as well, like in terms of story, because in terms of story you're kind of like a new arrival into Skyrim.
Oh,
so naturally you won't really know. The character may have heard of these places. They are marked on the map, but you haven't been there yet. You have to go there to see the world, and it's amazing.
I like that aspect actually. You know, most games, like, you know, the characters already be in the world, and it's the player for the first time they're experiencing it, so it kind of immerses the player more because the actual player character hasn't even experienced that yet themselves. So
yeah, exactly.
It works quite well in that aspect. I like it when they do that.
It's kind of like a dual experience, not just for your character but for you as well.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
But yes, the gameplay. They use the two-hand system. In other words, you can assign a spell, an item, a weapon, whatever, to one hand and the other. So if you wanted, you could have like a spell and like have a dagger in the other hand, like to unleash hell. Super fun. But yeah. Also, but it adds a kind of a tactic to a feel to it, because you have to choose how you're going to approach a situation. There's a different hotkey system where you go into your inventory and your spells and whatever, and you can favorite these things in that way. So instead of assigning a direction on the D-pad to access something, instead you have a list which you access via the D-pad, press up or down on the directional pad, and then you select that way. But the thing is, like I said, you have to make a choice. You cannot attack, defend, and use a spell at the same time. You have to choose two of those options.
Seems pretty awkward, to be fair.
It means you have to stop and start mid fight, like every 10 seconds, depending on what you're doing. So, for instance, if you've got like a sword and shield out, and you're fighting, but oh no, you've taken a lot of damage, you need to heal yourself. So what you have to do, you have to take off one of these things. So you take off the sword and then put a healing spell in it instead. So, whereas in Oblivion there was just a button. There was a button for spells, there's a button for blocking, there's a button for attacking. The reason why you have to make these choices is because they've added different functions. They've added a sprint function, and they've added the words of power to shout, which is a separate button. Which means the two shoulder buttons are the only things you can do.
Yeah, well, to be fair, there's a good improvements, but it feels like they've kind of taken one step back, really, by the sounds of things.
Yeah, that's what I find the irony of it. It's like, yeah, the two-handed system. However, it's like tying one arm behind your back. It's bizarre to think about that way, but it's true. However, all bitching aside, like I did get used to it, and it can make things more interesting. Like I said, almost like a tactical feel to it. But otherwise, yeah, the other functions they've added are very useful, like sprinting. Like you can sprint into battle, you sprint away from battle, and the words of power. Like I would have preferred it if perhaps they added, used the words of power as magic
That would be a better idea, right?
If they did that, then you could have like a button for blocking or something. But
Because technically the shouts are kind of like a type of magic in itself, so...
even in the menu, they are under the magic section, because you've got your skills and your level up in the menu. They utilize the direction of the pad, like they press up for skills, right for items, left for magic, and down for a map. So I don't know, but who are we but foolish consumer players?
Yes, of course, foolish players who don't know. We're not expert gamers.
What do we know? but what the hey? You get used to it. It becomes interesting. Graphics I've mentioned, music, gameplay, story. It's fairly interesting. Because
prisoner again.
Yeah, you're a prisoner again. Like it's become quite apparent that they have a bit of a thing for prisoners. Did they Bethesda?
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's more often than not, like you can almost get swept away. Well, like because I said to myself, like I want to save the main story for later, because that's the beauty about these games. You have these objectives, these side missions, but you don't have to do them. So I wanted to save the main story. However, I found myself getting caught up in it. I got like more like halfway through, simply by being swept up by this epic story, and
awesome.
It was beautiful. But again, like the guilds return. Well, some of them do. You've got like warriors fight as the companions. You've got the mages, the College of Winterhold. However, the Thieves Guild and Assassin's Guild, the Dark Brotherhood, do make a return. I've seen them. I've played them. They're awesome.
They sound pretty cool.
Yeah. I think that in general the other major storylines apart from the main one, like I think they are a little bit more interesting than they were in Oblivion.
Yeah, it makes it feel more real. From what I can get out of the map, put more effort in it to make it feel more real and make the universe feel more alive. So that's what I like about it.
Yeah, and speaking of quests, they've added the Radiant ones. What they call the Radiant quests, which basically are repeatable quests. So in theory, it is impossible to complete this game.
You completionists are going to be pissed off with this one.
Yes. But yeah, like the achievements are pretty standard for Bethesda. Play this part of the story, get an achievement.
As most games are.
Yeah, it's not. It's less so. Juggle 1,000 coins in your hand and like hit someone in the face at the same time.
Kill so many enemies with this thing and do that thing and go there.
Yeah, it's
take the crescent key and go back and blah blah.
It kind of encourages like achievement whores. It kind of encourages them to play the game. Like encourages everyone to like fully explore the thing, because like with the character I created, I was kind of, perhaps I'll make a different one for like the thieves and the assassins and the Daedric artifact quests. But I kind of like I was just far too intrigued for my own good. Like I had to go see it.
Cool.
To do it all, and I'm glad I did. It's very the storylines are very good. However, I don't know whether it's just because I blitzed them or not. I think they're a little bit on the short side. I don't know. I don't know whether it's because I blitzed them. I don't know whether it's just because I was immersing and I'm having so much fun with it. But I think they were a little bit short. But again, because it's balanced out, but because there's so much to do.
That's cool.
Like I said, like I've played this game for like nearly 200 hours now. I'm still not done.
There's a lot of gameplay. That's a lot of value.
It's a lot of value for money.
Definitely.
Yeah, it was expensive, more expensive than usual. It was like £42 for the regular game instead of 40.
They do have big games like these days. When you Call of Duty, 45 quid. Really? Yeah. I like knocking that game, don't I?
Yeah, see Call of Duty.
I don't hate the series. It's just, it's just overrated.
But yes, I think I've rambled on.
Yeah, fair enough.
Long enough.
Yeah.
If you haven't got the impression already, buy the game. If you have £42 to spare, just play it.
Hopefully, I will soon.
Yeah, cannot recommend it enough. Like, if high fantasy is your thing and RPGs are your thing, it's you cannot enjoy this game enough. The options, the feel, the quest, the world, it's amazing.
Cool.
Can I just point out it is actually half price at the moment?
It's half price at the moment. What more incentive do you want?
Yeah, I know that offer's finished actually. It was Game Station, that was, wasn't it? Doing it half
So,
price.
hi, we're overstocked. How can you be overstocked on a game as impossibly good as this?
Probably because everyone bought it and then like they've got leftover copies maybe. I don't
Yeah.
know.
It's not superior to Oblivion, but it is a lot better. Definitely an improvement. So, that's enough of me. Over to 4G.
Yeah, well, my highlight of the year. Well, I was working as a QA tester for a year, and it was, I gotta say, it's a pretty interesting experience, you know, seeing these games in production. You know, literally, how far they come, you know, it's
Yes,
it's really, you know, interesting. You see it from this unfinished, really buggy sort of unfinished product and see it developing into something which is a full final release, you know.
see, that's what I think is interesting. Like, you always see the finished product and finished product and how they're all sort of super slick and shiny, but like to see the game assembled, I think it'll make it even more satisfying to see it completed.
Oh yeah, I mean, surprisingly, I mean, you see the cuts as well. I mean, there's a lot of games I've seen that have a lot of features in it, and
Yeah.
they've just been cut out, and because I haven't had the time or the funding or whatever, and you know, it's really weird to see that. I mean, in some ways, when you've been testing a game, it makes it feel like less of a game. I don't know, it's just...
I imagine if game company have an enemy, I suppose it's time.
Yeah, true, time and funding.
Time,
but
time and money.
yeah, I learnt that a lot when I was working.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, stop in the background there, but,
What? What's the
yeah,
problem?
you know, it was a good experience. I mean, anyone who wants to get into the gaming industry, I recommend this as a starting point. But you really do need to push yourself, and really do need to push yourself towards a development team if you want to get in there. I mean, I didn't try half as hard enough as I should, and it was just, you know, I just got pushed out, and I got let go, unfortunately, because they didn't have enough funding, and they just need to let the team go.
No, I imagine it's kind of like most gamers' dreams, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, well, you know,
What better way to pay the bills than playing video games?
it was just a pretty awesome experience. I mean, getting to experience the industry and getting to know people and how everything works. It's just a brilliant experience, you know. I do recommend it to anyone. It's a good way to get in the industry and push yourself enough, and who knows, you might get pretty far. If not, you get let go and might get called back. They've contacted me back and said, hope you'll get a job again. Fingers crossed for that.
In other words, I think it's to those who have an interest in the intricacies and the mechanics of the video games industry, see what it actually entails on every level of its
Exactly.
infrastructure, then this is the golden opportunity. Not only to see that, but also just to play games all day.
Exactly, yeah, that's the best. One of the best parts, playing games all day. Actually, not as fun as you think, to be fair, but it can get a bit taxing, but...
I imagine it kind of, because I imagine most of it is playing like one stretch of level
yeah, like...
over and over again until
like,
it's...
yeah, like play this one level with this certain thing with these certain settings, and you know, it's a bit annoying, but otherwise it's pretty good. Really relaxed, really chilled out, really good. I recommend it.
Especially if you're addicted to video games like I am.
Like we both are, really.
Yeah, let's be fair. Oh dear.
Deus Ex, Human Revolution, my game of the year. What can I say? This was a franchise that hasn't been touched upon for a long time, and I was really just excited to see it come back. A bit cautiously, really, as well, because, I mean, the sequel, Invisible War, kind of lost a lot of what the essence of what the original had.
Yes, I hear that's the consensus. It's
Yeah.
like, ooh, Deus Ex, yeah, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, oh, that's pretty good. Invisible War, oh.
Yeah, exactly, that was I mean, the first one had just a great story, great environments, the characters were memorable, it had a good, unique skill system and augmentations, and they streamlined everything. Probably because it was a console port, you know, they ported it to multi-format, which kind of hindered the game a bit. But, you know, it was a letdown.
It's probably just like a direction they decided to go in.
Yeah, well, there were a lot of difficulties in development, I heard. There's a post-mortem of the game. the lead director was actually talking about it. I mean, one of the problems he said he was going for a separation at the time, so I think he actually had a lot more in his mind than just making a game, you know. But anyway, Invisible War, you know, is a return to the series after about a decade, I think.
Do you mean Human Revolution?
Human Revolution, yeah. Sorry, but Human Revolution, yeah, I don't know what I'm duh. It wasn't a decade either, but anyway. And, you know, it's a prequel, and it had this interesting take on the series, and it was just done so well. I mean, the ethos and the whole backstory were there, was kept intact, and some characters returned, and it was done really well. Augmentations were really cool, the abilities were really cool, and admittedly, they did kind of streamline it a little bit compared to the original, but it actually worked really well.
I think it feels like a return to basics with a facelift.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they actually mentioned this was a reboot of the series, and I think they did a good job because it had the classic elements, as I mentioned, and had new elements like a third-person cover system, and well, there's regenerating health as well. But it actually worked in this game because it's actually quite a slow health regen, so you have to be really careful. I mean, a few shots and you're dead, you know, like bang bang. I mean, I remember being around Dares, bringing it round, and everyone's trying to play it and just getting slaughtered because they couldn't get past it.
Because the start of the game is quite punishingly hard.
Yeah, well, the whole game's punishingly hard until you get used to it. I mean, it's like with RPGs as well. You know, you have to level up your abilities and stuff. And
yeah, it's like Skyrim. Skyrim was punishingly hard.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
When you start out, it's really hard.
Yeah, I mean, Deus Ex has the sort of RPG elements as well, so it's quite kind of felt weird, and you know, to most people, because it's RPG, shooter, adventure, action, strategy. Well, not strategy, but you know, strategy and tactics in it. But you know what I mean.
But I think in the avalanche of like reboots and remakes these days, like 96% of things that are being created now are like reboots and sequels and whatever. I think
pretty much
this is one of the few occasions where it was kind of where it benefited the series rather than diminished it. It wasn't just another bastardization. It was actually quite, you know, it fulfilled its purpose, did what it wanted to do. It made it breathed new life back into the Deus Ex series, which had almost become a bit of a joke.
Especially after Invisible War.
After Invisible War, it kind of lost its credibility, and
I'm not the first one, but you know, after that there was doubts about how good the next one would be.
Yeah, like there was doubts, but I'm sure it's reassured its fans.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, there's
This
still
one included.
Oh, this one definitely. I mean, there's still bias fans out there who say that it's rubbish because they've added these elements that don't work, and which I think they do personally. But well, everyone's a critic, you know.
Each to his or her own, as they
Exactly,
say.
that's the thing. And you know, there's the freedom of choice, which is what the original had. I mean, to an extent, this is not the same level of freedom of choice, but
in the same,
it does
but
affect it.
by the same merit, though, it's apart from the ending, of course.
Yeah,
like,
the ending was terrible.
Like,
press a button.
it's, I think, where it kind of adds weight and substance to the choices you make. Whereas in most RPG games, it's like you can be good or bad, or you can choose this way or this way, but it doesn't really matter because you're in the same instance anyway. For the most part, like Deus Ex kind of stuck to its guns.
Yeah, it definitely did.
With the choices you make.
Yeah, I mean, you know, most choices feel quite linear. This one, it branched out a little bit, and it did feel more realistic, and choices actually had consequences depending what you did. Unlike most games, kill this person, just carry on. Kill this person, they don't appear again, you know, whereas they could appear and give you stuff or help you out. You know, stuff like that, really.
Yeah, and really, when you think about RPGs, like, yeah, their main strengths are really, it's, you want to give people freedom and you want to give people, like, choices. And if it's not real freedom, and if your choices are meaningless, then it kind of sucks out some of the immersion
Exactly.
from the experience.
It does really, a little bit.
But, yeah.
But yeah, well,
Next up.
I don't know if I've got any more to say on the game. Really, all I can say is if you're a big fan of the first game, which no doubt you will be, get this one. I mean, I can honestly say that the first Deus Ex is still a better game, but this is still brilliant. It's a great game for this era, and just go out and buy it. It's quite cheap now, so no excuse. Go do it.